你开始录了。
Wenqing, there's some non-Chinese speaking people, so maybe we should mention like we're gonna make an introduction first.
Yeah, we will. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay. 好，大家好，我是文庆，欢迎大家今天来参加 PANT Online 第11次的活动。今天的活动是艺术家的文字沟通技巧，今天邀请了用力来跟我分享。那今天的活动呢，会方式进。Today's program will be in English, but now I will first do a short introduction in Chinese. 所以我现在先大概跟大家讲一下今天的主讲人用力。那用力他是表演艺术家以及策展人，他的作品运用的媒材多是以文字、声音自创的方式。那他有一个 Bar Talk Series 是他定期策划的活动，在海牙很受欢迎哦。但是之前因为疫情的关系，也做了几次方式呈现。等一下用也会分享一些他在 Bar Talk。那今天我们邀请用来跟大家分享，也是因为在 III Artist Survival Guide 分享了艺术家如何能让自己的履历作品清楚，让你的观众群还有补。那去年我们这个平台的艺术家像 CEO 啊都有参加他的工作坊，觉得非常有收获，所以我们今天才特别邀请用在台荷艺集这个 online series 跟我们简单的分享，因为通常这个工作坊会是比较至少2个小时，那今天我们会是比较以精简的方式，他会讲他今天的做加精简的内容。那我们在开始之前呢，我们会想要先让大家能够有一个简单的自我介绍。那从现在开始呢，因为我们等一下就直接要进入活动，所以从现在开始我就会转为英文。Okay. So before we start, we would like to have a short with a short introduction with everyone. So first your name and where you base and your profession. Just really clear, simple, and that's also helpful for later when she's going to give the talk, and she can understand, okay, maybe what information is also more useful. So we will start the round with the short introduction. So I will start, and when I finish, I will ask say the next person's name. So we just pass on like that. Yeah. Okay. So I will start first. My name is Qin, and I'm based in Leiden and Den Haag, both. And then I'm a sound artist and performer. Okay. And CEO.
Hello, I'm CEO. I am a musician, pianist, and composer. I'm based in Rotterdam, and I work between Holland and Taiwan. Okay, let me see. Nu Bin, you are the next one.
You are muted.
You have to unmute yourself for your microphone. Yes, perfect.
Yeah. You hear me?
Yeah.
Hello, I am Nubim. I'm a composer, music composer, and I am based on Rotterdam. And yeah, very nice to meet you.
Yeah, welcome.
And,
So you can point to the next one.
Yeah, I don't know the names of people, so
Oh, maybe it's because in the side. So maybe I can help you for this one to point to the next one. So can I have Pei Ying?
Okay.
You're
Hello. Yeah. So my name is Pei Ying. I'm based in Eindhoven, and I'm usually being framed as a bio artist, but it's now always bio related. So in general, artist. Yeah. Okay. So do I need to appoint the next one?
Yeah,
Then
please.
Feng Huang, maybe. Are you here?
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a Phoenix. I'm based in Rotterdam, and I'm a graphic designer and also a visual artist. Thank you. Right, we know 是艺人。
Hi everyone, I'm Yiren. I'm a film composer and I'm based in Malaysia now. Elaine? Is it Elaine Huang?
Elaine, are you there? Yeah, maybe you have to speak a little bit louder.
Okay, I'll try to speak it louder. Hello, I'm Elaine, or you can call my real name is Yiren Hong. I'm composer. I graduated from Codex this year, and now I'm in Taiwan finding a job. Thank you.
Thank you. So you can point to a next one.
Sola, speak.
Hi.
Hello.
Let me open my camera. Hi, I'm Yuxing, and yeah, Sora is my the game name. I'm a composer based in Taiwan, and I just premiered my work for bamboo flutes and electroacoustics the last week. Yeah, so yeah, nice to meet everyone.
Nice meeting you. So you can point to the next one. Thank you.
Next one. Who's the next one? Wenqing. Have you introduced?
I introduced myself. Yes. We still have, I think, with Rising.
Rising light or shine?
Rising light, please.
Yeah, hi. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, I'm Rising. Sorry for the noise if there's something in the background. I'm Rising, and I'm based in Den Haag and Rotterdam, and I'm now studying in industrial design in Garbika. And yeah, nice to meet you all.
Yeah, thanks.
So should I pick another person? Sora.
I
Sora.
have a feeling it's easier if you pick people because you know.
Yeah, I think we just have a few. Okay, so maybe I can I ask Xiaowei Zhou to introduce yourself?
Hello.
Hello.
Hold on, I just arrived at my home.
No problem.
Hello, my name is Xiaowei. I'm flutist. I'm based in Paris. And so I work in the contemporary music and performances. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thanks for joining us. So I think we still have the last one, Ili. Yeah? Yeah. You also Ili. I think Ili, do we have you already?
Elite. I think that's
Me,
you.
that's me.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Okay. But I will introduce
Okay,
myself.
so yeah, but maybe first Yenting, and then you are the last one, Yun.
Xinhua is joined.
Oh, Xinhua. Yeah.
Oh.
So Xinhua, welcome. We are doing a short introduction about your name where you base and your profession. Just yeah.
Okay.
So if you can introduce yourself briefly, that will be really nice.
Okay. Shall I do? Yeah. I'm Xinhua. I'm now based in Amsterdam. I'm an artist, multimedia artist, also focusing on community art. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, thanks a lot. So now I think everyone do the quick introduction. So now I'm going to give the time to Yoon.
Yes, thank you so much, Wenchin, for introducing me, and thank you everyone for introducing yourselves. Since this session is going to be in English, sometimes I do talk a little bit fast. Please let me know if it's going too fast by just typing in the section that you type in.
Yeah, the pen, yeah. In the pen string 文字区, there you can always put your comments, or if you have any question, you can always put it there.
Yeah, and CEO or Wenchin will pay attention and let me know. So, like Wenchin said, my name is Yoon, and I work as an artist doing my own work, but I also curate Bar Talk, this lecture performance series, and I also coordinate workshops at IAI. I also did PR management for IAI for 3 years, which is where most of my experience comes from, and that is mostly promoting events that are happening, and with the goal of getting as much audience as possible, and also promoting individual artists, which mostly means going through a lot of bios and work descriptions. So that's kind of going to be the focus of today. Another thing that we were focused on in IAI is also getting resident artists, which also means that all of us have quite a lot of experience reading through residency applications. And because you have a really high volume of bios and work descriptions to read, it's also been very good experience to know what are people looking for within a very short amount of time. So today, what I mostly wanted to talk about is a basic press kit, all the very basic things that you need. Also focus on different purposes, because let's say you write a bio. I have maybe 7 different bios for different purposes. And I also update these bios every year, depending on what it's for. And that's because you can't use the same bio that you give to a curator for every single event that you do, and also not the same bio for every residency that you apply for. It's kind of like if you're introducing yourself to someone you've never met before versus how you introduce yourself to a family member versus what you put in your bio on a dating profile or something like that. I wouldn't say, your dating profile, I am a curator of 5 years, So that's something to always keep in mind. Who is your audience? So I see in here that most of you are actually in music. A lot of composers here. This is something that I don't have a lot of PR experience for, but I see a lot of people at the intersections. And the main goal, in any case for any PR, is to try to reach a certain audience. So let's start with components of a basic press kit. We have a biography, a photo of yourself, several photos of yourself, a documentation of your work, description of work that you want to show, and your website. The very, very basic things. And also some people don't even have websites, and it totally is fine anyway. But you need to have some kind of online presence, right? And there are extras like, your CV, of course, your artist statement, and your motivation in your portfolio. But that is for very specific purposes. Things, bio, documentation of work, description of work, and website. First question for all of these things is, what are you promoting? Is it an event? Are you promoting mostly your work? Who are you talking to? What are you promoting it for? Is it to promote one single event, like an upcoming concert, an upcoming show? Is it to give to a curator or a concert programmer for grant writing? So I just want to get an idea how many people are writing grant applications. Is that everybody? I don't know how to get this information. If you can type.
You can type in the, maybe everyone can stream 文字区. That's one section above the discussion there.
What do we
So
have
if,
to type? Can you repeat?
Maybe the easiest is to say, what is the most important for you when promoting yourself? Is it general work? Is it for curators or concert programmers? Is it for grant writing? Or is it for promoting an event specifically?
I
Do
could
you want
start.
to focus on?
Oh, okay, I could start first because I'm using my phone, so I cannot type.
Okay, you can just tell me.
okay.
I don't see the session to type. So for me, mostly because mostly I would apply for art residency. So mainly I think the target audience, the institutions.
Institutions.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyone else? You can just speak actually, if you don't want to type or can't type, but I'm also reading it. Curators and grants, concert programmers, yep, okay, a lot of grants, programmers, institute curator. Okay, that's clear. Let's focus on that then. So I'm going to start with the bio, and I'm going to give some examples. The main thing is to be able to get the point across really, really fast, because curators are going through many artists. Grants, people who are reading grants are also going through many applications. So you need to catch people's eye and also get to the point. I'm going to give a few examples.
And now, because Yumi is going to share her screen, so if you see there's a watch screen, so if you click that, then you can see what Yumi is sharing now.
Can't see myself, but I hope people can see what I'm showing. If not, I'm also going to read it out anyway. Okay.
I can see it, yeah.
So I'm going to read the second. This is an example of the kind of bio that I see a lot, especially with musicians, and I also understand why. Has worked closely with the violist Garth Knox, Ensemble Intercontemporain, and Pierre Boulez. She holds degrees in viola performance and neuroscience from Rice University, New England Conservatory, and Oberlin College and Conservatory. Currently, she is assistant professor of viola and music theory at the University of Wisconsin-Eau Claire. So I want to ask, and you don't have to respond, can you understand what this person does from reading this bio? Reading it myself, and well, she is a violist. That is something I can tell. I can't hear exactly what she might be playing unless I was in the field, maybe. What this reads to me is a CV, actually. All this information belongs in a CV. Does all of it belong in a bio? Not really. I'll give you a better example, just to show what I mean. X has been called the classical music equivalent of an extreme sports athlete. Gramophone called his Fast Jump album a compelling showcase for X's innate virtuosity and gregarious temperament. It already gives something, right? There's character, there's well, there are very few people who are described as the classical music equivalent of an extreme sports athlete. So you can kind of already get a sense of what this person is about. Known as a champion of adventurous new music, X has performed with the Los Angeles Philharmonic, and then the rest of this is more CV material. So all of this last bit, that's fine. I mean, that makes sense at the end, and maybe some people will recognize some of these names and it will mean something. But if you only list these names that are supposed to mean that you were associated with something bigger or more famous, it doesn't tell you anything about who you are as an artist. So I'm going to use one more example, and this is from someone here. This is an old bio, and he actually came to the Artist Survival Guide workshop, where I also did this PR writing workshop. And this was the bio before, and I'm going to read the bio after some feedback. X is a musician working across the context of modern classical and contemporary jazz. Bad so far. As a composer and arranger, X's works has been collaborated, commissioned, or presented with by soloist ensemble, dance theater, and institutions such as as a pianist in jazz, he works on his own project, X Group, Emilio Moreover, X performs new music composed by contemporary composers. As a band leader, he is known to combine contemporary jazz as well as modern classical music by the concepts which frequently based on seamless connection between written music and improvisation. Okay, so with this, again, a lot of CV material. That's most of it. It's fine to have a little bit of it at the very end once you get an idea of who this person is. But if I'm reading through 100 different applications, I'm going to miss a lot of things. So the things that stick are still specific to this person. Feedback for this person. Oh yeah, it's CEO, by the way. So my main feedback for CEO was, what is your intention? What excites you mainly? Like, because I couldn't get a sense of that. When you read someone's CV, it really is just like, okay, what are you passionate about? What are you about? And that's what you really want to know when you meet a person, even just on a one-to-one basis, but even more so as an artist that needs to stand out much faster. So, new bio. CEO is a composer, arranger, and pianist working across the context of modern classical and contemporary jazz. CEO is known to combine these two genres by his personal music concepts, which are frequently based on seamless mixture between written music and improvisation. Okay, so you kept that. Kept this, which can be a lot more succinct, a little shorter. Yeah. In Taiwan, CEO completed bachelor degrees in the area of classical piano at National Taiwan Normal University. In the area of jazz piano, not sure how much of an improvement this is, to be honest. Sorry to say, but earlier you did write a version of this where you were thinking a little more about the motivation. CEO is a performing composer arranger who is eager to present a comfortable entrance that immerses the audience into a complex range of human emotions. All right, so this is a slightly better. What would make it even more clear is if you use very specific examples, like maybe what kinds of instrumentation do you gravitate towards? I want to be able to read this and get a sense already without looking at anything, without listening to anything, but just reading the text and get a feeling of what are you about. Basically, writing PR and communicating your work, it's just a translation of your work, a more direct translation of your work. So yeah, this is the main thing I wanted to cover. Are there any questions about this specific thing before I move on? Oh, crystal clear. Next thing I wanted to talk about is work descriptions. So here's a really nice example of a good page on a very clear project. So this work is called What the Boys Taught Me. And you already have a very intriguing trailer and image right here. The dynamic is very clear and the performance is already communicated in one still image. If you're scrolling through something like this as a curator, you can already immediately get the energy that's going on, who is involved, what is happening, what can I expect? They want to find out more, right? So that's already starting with just still images. You get into the description should also reflect what the image is showing and also give it slightly more information. So Guangku found inspiration in the novel, the book, What the Boys Taught Me, from a Taiwanese author, filmmaker, talk show presenter. It's about the inspiration here. This performance reflects on the different situations between men and women in terms of gender, age, social status, stereotype, with 6 various chapters using percussion music, mime, film, live analog projection to discuss those most subtle but unforgettable life stories. It's personal, yet universal. From reading this, it's quite clear. What do you expect? What do you expect to see and hear, also feel a little bit? What is really nice about it is that it doesn't necessarily say what exactly you should feel. There are some parts like unforgettable life stories. Okay, that is very subjective, and I wouldn't know until I experience it. It's personal yet universal. That's what the intention is, right? But it doesn't say what I'm going to feel. It just says what is going to happen. Work itself should be self-explanatory when you see it, right? So those whatever feelings you have, that is your feeling. Sometimes I feel really weird when I read a description of a work and saying it will elicit excitement or it will make you think about something. If I don't feel it, then that description is going to be very weak. And actually, it makes my experience of the work, changes my experience of the work, because it's trying to control it a little too much. And when those expectations are not fulfilled, then just less strong. So there's always a danger of text influencing work in a negative way, giving too much information, giving information that is not there at all. So that's something that you have to think about. And in the workshop version of this, we go deeper into this. So if you want to know more about that and actually work on your own specific descriptions, you can check that out on the III website, which I will link to later. Stop sharing. Further, once you have your bio, your photos, which are representative of the works, and the descriptions themselves, it's also just good to look at your general social media too, if you have it. If you don't, websites. I'm going to talk a little bit about the way that I think about PR in terms of organizations, because that also has some relationship to how artists do their individual PR and what works and what doesn't. So I'm going to share of Bartok, is this series that I've been curating for the past few years. So I currently do not do the PR myself. We have a PR manager who does this, but we plan everything together. We talk about the identity of the organization, So in traditional PR, marketing, communications, what people do, what companies do is they decide, this is my identity, this is how I'm going to tell the story. But what I've learned in promotion in the arts, it's really about who is your community, because your community is mostly what shapes you. And this can be your art community or whatever community you are making your work in or inspired by. It's the community that you are going to be surrounding yourself with and also coming to your shows mostly. So we don't have a lot of followers because Bar Talk is a very local thing. We only do things in The Hague. And that is something that's very clear to us. But our work is mostly based out of people in The Hague, the artists that we invite, and also their networks. And it's something that we really try to nurture as well. So we're really focused on people. We try our best to show mostly faces of people. So even just scrolling through this, I think you can kind of get a sense maybe of what Bar Talk is. It's a bit difficult to explain to someone because there isn't exactly one theme. Every single time there's a different theme, and so we usually have huge blocks, slightly different. But the thing is that the main point is that it's a bit messy. There's a lot of different things going on. It's colorful. It's dynamic. It's not very clean museum or gallery type aesthetic. It's not clean. That's the main thing that we also want to communicate, that it's also fun and it's bright, it's colorful. Switch to III. So this one has more of an audience reach. The thing that we always had problems with in the past is that we always had these colorful, really exciting looking images of work. But yeah, all these machine type things, but in the end, very few human faces. So back then we weren't getting so much interaction from our audience. People weren't really excited to interact in terms of liking or commenting or even coming to the shows. But after we did some coaching, we also started, well, one of the main things that we found out is, well, people want to see faces. And so we started being more conscious and focusing a lot more on people behind the works and not just the works themselves. Because in the end, people are coming to the shows also to make connections, right? It's of course to experience something different, experience something, it's to experience a show, but it's also to find out what are people talking about, what are people interested in, who are other people that are interested in the same things that I'm interested in. These are the relationships that we mostly focus on at IAI. You can also see there's a huge difference between the events where people are not so connected to the community versus events that are. So I think one example of an event that is really successful is PANT Public actually. Because Wenxin is not only a really good host, making people feel comfortable, but also someone who knows the audience, obviously. This is quite different to an event where, let's say, someone is in a general experimental music scene, but doesn't really know, doesn't live in The Hague, and also doesn't know the people directly in the scene. The way that I think about PR and about communication in general is that it's an extension of your friends. It really is a network of human relationships. That is my approach. Going into specific audiences, I think two really successful artists in The Hague that I look at and look up to in terms of PR are Yamuna Fortani, who is a fashion designer, and Fazal Shah Mohammed, who is a dancer. Both have very clear audience they are very connected to on a very local level. And what they show in their social media is their relationships, honestly. And the people who they showcase, who wear their work or are a part of their work, also share their work and their events. So for example, Yamuna Fortani, she works in the in fashion, but she also works a lot with performers, a lot with the queer community in Rotterdam, and well, actually in the Netherlands in general. And so a lot of her work features people within the community wearing her clothes. And because they look really good, the people themselves are more likely to share. This creates a whole ecosystem on social media. And all of it is also branding. I mean, it is human relationships, and it also works for branding. So the most successful PR models that I've seen are PR models that feed themselves. When people are really excited about your work, they'll also do PR for you. That spreads much faster than if you're trying to, if you buy like a 3,000 euro ad for something. You can see here, it's all very people oriented. These are real people who are friends of Yamuna. It's a very dynamic social media space. And it's also very clear like what she stands for and what her brand is here. So slightly different example, Fazil Shah Mohammed, and then I will end there. Again, he is a dancer, and he involves a lot of people within his neighborhood even, so his family, also, and connecting different parts of his community, the different communities that he belongs to in his performances. So his family, his neighborhood, the art community, queer community, those are all very important parts of his work and his life as well. You also see that it's a lot of him, also like interviewed with its work. There's no real separation. It's also all part of his branding at the same time. Strategy, which I've seen more and more, is really quite personal. He messages people. What he does usually for his events is he gets the information and then he messages maybe 20, 30 people in his network and says, hey, tickets are out now. You should book it now before everyone else does. So he always makes sure to reach his community first before he releases information to the public. That's also something that Yamuna does, and that's something that makes people feel, well, special. They have access to this. And so all of his shows this past 2-3 years have been completely sold out just for this reason. This also creates hype. And so when he goes abroad, when he goes to other countries, people check him out. They see that there is this excitement. So once again, there's this whole ecosystem that drives itself and creates hype for the upcoming events. So I think I may have run out of time, but I think what would be really nice is if we could talk about this, and if we have any specific questions, then we can go deeper. Are there any questions at all about anything that I've talked about so far?
If you have question, you can just unmute yourself and then ask. Or yeah. One thing I noticed, because sometimes with the grants, because people also curious about with the grant application, how they are going to with the grant application, what is the important thing also, as I assume with your bio, which each grant you also have to, the way how you can,
I know what you mean. So with grants, the bios are important, but they don't, the shorter the better, the more to the point they are, the better when it comes to grants. More important thing is the project plan, of course. But of course, your bio and your artist statement will be the thing that kind of gives you the context for your work. It's a window into how do you think and what is your motivation. Because that informs everything else. And from there, what's important is, of course, your portfolio, and then your work plan. Is it realistic? You have proof of success in the past from your past projects. How have people reacted? And in the Netherlands, at least, I don't know how it works everywhere else. One of the main things that people look for is audience engagement, audience reach. And this is why I place so much emphasis on social media engagement and using your public, your community as like its own PR machine. Because funds also look at is, are people reacting to your work? Are people interested in your work? Will this serve the public? Do you have relevance? Is your work to reach a broad enough public? Sadly, it can be really frustrating, of course, especially if you work in a very niche kind of field. Audience is important, of course. What is the point of making a work if it doesn't reach people? And this is where PR and communication comes into play.
Thank you. Is there anyone have Xinhua, you have
Yeah.
You can be as specific as you want. Yeah.
Yeah, because just following the last questions, so I thought of it. So for example, when you are looking on the applications, for example, like hundreds of applications, so you will go through like a lot of bio as well as the artist statement of one person. And what would you expect the difference between, or like what would you expect from bio while the difference from artist statement, or would you see more bio as you want to know about who this person is doing, or the experience, while the artist statement is more like what my research, my practice is about. I just want to know this.
Yeah, exactly. So for me, at least, the bio really is about the person. Don't go super deep into your philosophical ideas or whatever. Artist statement is a little deeper into, what is your motivation? The thing is, I'm really not a big fan of artist statements in general, and so I don't pay so much attention to them, because a lot of people who write their artist statements, when I read a lot of artist statements, I don't understand them. If I don't understand it, then it doesn't mean anything to me. Problem with artist statements, when you go too deep into your way of thinking, is really that people don't understand it. So in any text that you write, what is the most important is that you communicate very, very clearly in words that everyone, depending on the audience, right, in that position will understand. If I read something that's very specific to one type of music, and it's a term that I don't understand. Okay, let's say you use the word spectralism, or something like that, or microtonal. Not everyone is going to understand what that means. Okay, yes, people in a particular field of music will understand what it means, and if that is your audience and you know this person will understand what this means, that's great. Then you don't have to explain things. Otherwise, you will have to take some time to be very clear, like, okay, spectralism, what are you hearing actually? What are the exact things that you're hearing? Is that clear? Did that answer your question? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, yes, clear, thanks.
Thank you. I'm curious, many people have artist statements that they need? How many people need to write artist statements for their applications? Is there a way to raise your hand on Discord?
No.
Oh, okay.
Every day, you can put that. You can unmute yourself, or you can pen string 文字区。
When was the last time anyone had to? Did someone have to write an artist statement this year? You can just speak up already. No. Okay. I haven't had to give anyone an artist statement in a very long time. I don't even know if people are using them so much. For me, what is the most important is portfolio, honestly. You see things, and photos communicate much faster than words. And so the first thing is the image, and then the second thing is the description. The description doesn't give me something interesting beyond what I see, then it's not so important. Does anyone have any problems with, or has anyone ever told them that when reading your work description or your bio, they didn't expect your work to sound like or look like what it does? No. I guess none of you have problems with that.
Here comes a question. Xinhua asked, will you really go into videos when viewing the application?
Okay, to be honest, I mean, I take a look at everything, but with videos are super tricky. I usually skip around. I take a look at a few seconds. If it doesn't catch my interest, I go to the middle, then I go to the end. Usually there's no time to really look at things unless it's very interesting, unless it immediately speaks to me. I think this is also why a lot of funds also say who is in the jury, because then you can also take a look at what their background is and what would speak to them. Ultimately, every fund, every institution is attached to people on the other end. So if you don't connect to this person, if your work and your words don't resonate with this person, they have no reason to look into it.
Okay.
So one thing is that don't be too frustrated sometimes when you don't get the grant, because it's always trying. So maybe you communicate well, but just didn't resonate with the jury.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, when you have experience, like we talk about resident artists together, right? As a team at IAI. Sometimes when we're talking about it as a group, everyone has looked through the applications, and then we rate everyone by how strongly we feel about them. Some people get a lot of excitement already, like, oh yeah, this is such a perfect fit. It's really about that. It's about, are you compatible? Will we be able to get as much out of this as you get out of it? Is this someone that we want to like hang out with also? Is this someone that we want to, whose work that we're excited by?
Yeah.
And then sometimes a name comes up and no one says anything because there's no interest. Or we just read it and we're like, oh, well, this has nothing to do with us. They should be applying somewhere else. But it's not that their work is bad. It's just, it's not a fit.
Yeah, and then always, especially when every time you are applying something, and always try to attend these organizations' events, or have some communication with beforehand. So always you show your face, and then you show communication always, especially if something in Holland, because if you locally different things. So this always help when you have a connection. Then it's always it goes much easier when you read, and then you also know this person a little bit, and then also this person So make a kind of connection first, if that's possible, before you send the application. That's always a good strategy.
100%. Again, I'm going to repeat this over and over again, but it's really about human relationships. It's really about the connection that you have between individual people. It's not about how good of a CV you have. It's not about where you showed your work in the past or what awards you won or what residencies you went and attended. None of that really matters. It's really about, yes, the quality of your work does matter, but it's really about what kinds of connections you can make between people. And yeah, this really shows when get an email sent to me, someone just said, never met before, who has never contacted me about anything before, just says, here's my work. Maybe it would be interesting to show at III. I find these very rude because people assume that I have time to just look at things, or, I mean, they also don't try to introduce themselves as a person. They don't want to know me. I don't want to know someone who doesn't want to get to know me. So that's really the end of that for me. Most of the time I just don't respond because I don't have time. That's going to be the case for a lot of people, especially with bigger organizations, with bigger curators. I have no reason to get to know you if you don't want to get to know what they're about.
I have a question. Let's
Yes.
assume that the artist, he has a nice bio description, and then when it comes to the portfolio part, what kind of focus would you expect him to bring on?
So the images need to be very clear of the work. To give me an impression of the work, very clear itself. And of course, it's very difficult for different kinds of works. For an installation or something physical, it's easier. For an experience, for a concert, of course, that's difficult. Something that communicates the essence, the spirit of the work. You also have to think about what kind of documentation makes sense, right? Is it a trailer? Is it a recording? If it's a recording, you also need to think about the listening experience. I have actually heard, live recordings of pieces, composers, when applying to a specific residency. And I'm also not interested in that. It needs to be good quality, obviously. So yeah. The medium is the message, right?
Yeah.
And documentation is another art form. It needs to be able to capture the work as truthfully as possible. It can't be an iPhone recording, of something. But your question was again?
Just in terms of portfolio.
What am I looking for? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just about the best representation of
because
your work.
I find it tricky because it's normally like we have a lot of material, but what to address?
Yeah.
Yeah, what to put on, how to address it.
Yeah, I mean, often you do have to also edit your portfolio to suit the purpose, right?
Yeah.
Depending on whatever you're applying for. I mean, okay, so I can also give a personal example. When I first registered for Strom, which is it's an art organization in The Hague that also supports artists by offering grants and studio visits and things like that. So you have to register by submitting a portfolio, artist statement, all these things, and CV. And one of the things that is a big problem for sound artists, which was mostly the kind of work that I was making before, with sound art, with performance, things that are difficult to record. Because they don't accept music as musicians, as artists. A lot of my work was really very sound-based, so I just took photos that looked like performance art, and in the end, that worked.
Image of strategy.
Yeah, exactly. It's about framing the end.
Indeed, this is a nice one.
Yeah. Sorry. It's about packaging as well.
Yeah. Then you do deliver the essence.
Exactly.
Cool.
Is anyone have other question? Because if not, I think today's PANT Online we can finish here. But because today is really a short version of. So during the workshop, I put in the PANT stream 文字区 there's an artist survival guide. And so you can check, you can take a look what is going to, it will start on the 19th of October. There will be several sessions, something with PR, but also with more the material will talk also maybe even deeper about how to write a grant application. And that will be really specific about that because last year, CEO was there and then also several people, they get a lot of information on that. So if you are interested in also with the tax, how you do your finance, and how to write budgets, all the technical thing, how do you need to know that? So you can always sign up. Still, there's still some spaces, right?
There is, and it's happening physically in The Hague and IAI. So unfortunately, you have to be in the Netherlands to do this.
Yes. Yeah, that's but hopefully if you are around, it's will be really worthy to participate, and then there will be more hands-on things during the workshop. So if you want to really improve your bio and improve sites, especially for the PR parts, will be to host to give the workshop.
Yes.
Then that will be a very useful time for more hands-on because today it's really an online version. Give general concept about that. So we really hope this will get you will get a chance to know to get to know more. And then like CEO, he improved a lot with his bio on the website, everything. I think that it's a process. The most important thing is like it's improving. That's the great things. Yeah. Okay. So thanks Yun a lot for sharing all this information. And
I'm going to drop the links in the chat. The first link is a report that I wrote on communication for IAI. So there are some things in there that are handy, and it's also covering some things mostly about communication for organizations, but there are some things for individual artists as well. And then the second link is for the artist survival guide. So you can check that out.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks, Yung. And then, thank you for joining today. And maybe a short announcement of next month.